Writer builders are the modern Renaissance man. This is something that one of my new favorite authors or writers on the internet, her name is Anu. She basically wrote a blog post all about writer builders and why they are the modern Renaissance man. So, what exactly is a Renaissance man? So, back in the days, and I think it's around, Leonardo da Vinci's time, like where all the artists were like popping off in Italy, and all of these famous people over there, they just weren't artists. They were artists, they were philosophers, they were mathematicians, they were physicists. So they basically just weren't good at one thing. They excelled in like multiple different other subjects. And basically what Anu is saying is that the modern Renaissance man is people or these people that are both writers and builders. And I want to explore why that is and why I think that she's actually right. And I think it's really cool if you're able to be both a writer and a builder at the same time. So, what does building do? Building is basically just like you taking action on a day-to-day basis, right? When you're trying to build a company, you're basically taking action every day. You basically have your hypothesis on something, right? Like usually, if you're building Amazon, it's like, in the future, I believe that a lot of people will be buying things online and they want it to be shipped fast to their homes, right? And they want to be able to buy everything, right? Let's say that was the hypothesis when Jeff Bezos was building Amazon, and he realized like that was happening because at the beginning his hypothesis was like people want to buy books online, and I think that's how Amazon started. But eventually his hypothesis evolved, and now it became Amazon. Uh, so I think that when you build, you're going to continue producing information, and producing new information gives you new ideas to act on, right? But if you combine that with writing, then writing allows you to clarify those ideas because like when you produce this information and it basically you have a lot of like data overload usually, and like either you would like take walks or you'd have to take more time to process this information. And what writing usually forces you to do is to really clarify those ideas. Like I don't know if you've ever tried to write before, but it's really hard, right? It's like usually when I'm trying to write something, I have an idea. Writing really forces you to truly understand what you're writing about. Because sometimes what happens when I write is that like I'm like, oh, like this idea is really, really good. But when I start writing about it, I'm like, actually, I don't know how to explain this properly. And that's because I don't really understand what I'm thinking about. And writing forces me to really clarify this idea that I have in my head, and it forces me to really, like make it more succinct in on paper. Like it really needs to be more simplified so that I can also understand it and I can clarify it to everyone else. So when you write about your ideas, you're able to clarify those ideas. And then what this usually does, and this is why like a lot of good writers are also like really good thinkers, is because the more that you write ideas, the more new ideas are also going to pop up. Like, like what happens usually when I write about something, or not all the time, but I would say like a lot of times, what would happen is that I would start writing something thinking about where I'm going. But because I'm writing this for, several days, several weeks, very often I would be either getting new information on this topic that I'm writing about, or the conclusion that I initially had would actually change because I'm writing and I'm actually like, oh, the thing that I thought about is actually incorrect, and it's actually like a new thing that happens. And then, so that means like not only that you're able to clarify your ideas, which means that like again, you become a better builder, but you also create new ideas while writing, which means that you can take these new ideas and then produce new information, or take action on them and then produce new information based on these new ideas that you get from your writing. So it really creates like a virtuous cycle between your builder mindset and your writing mindset. And I think like that's really how you're able to, like it's such like good synergy, I feel, together, that it makes sense to me that the modern Renaissance man is a writer builder, right? And I don't think necessarily, and maybe this is just me thinking out loud and hoping that this is not necessarily just an entrepreneur. Like, you don't need to be building technically like an Amazon or a Shopify or whatever. Like, you can just be building any sort of business. It could be a content creation business. It could be really anything, as long as you're building towards something. It could even be like, if I apply it to crypto, if you are in the crypto ecosystem and you're trying to not necessarily build something, but you try and get further in the crypto game, let's say, and you write on the side, I think it could be very valuable because, like, again, you're on a day-to-day basis, like either trading something, or so that means like you're taking information, you're forming some sort of hypothesis, right, that's happening in crypto, and then you're applying it on a day-to-day basis, and you're seeing if your thesis works or not. Then you can take that information and then write about it. So then you're like, okay, well, I'm currently seeing that there's this trend in either, like, let's take like Blast, for example. Like, oh, let's say in Blast there's this new project that came out, and you think that this project is gonna blow up, it's gonna be really big. So then you start like putting some money into this project, and you're like, okay, like, I think it's doing well. So then you're gonna write about it and why you think this project might blow up. Then writing about it could provide you with more ideas of why, either, like, again, it could be like, it could kind of like solidify why this thesis of yours is actually good, or it could tell you like the opposite of, like, actually maybe it's not that good, or maybe there are other projects that are similar in other ecosystems that will also blow up, so maybe I should start investing in all of those as well. So I think like that's the synergies that you can think of the combination of like building and writing together, that will really make you like pretty much unbeatable, right, in what you do. And I think it is really hard because, like, again, like, if you're in the crypto game, like, do you actually have the time to write that much? And the opposite, where it's like, usually good writing takes a lot of time and good building takes a lot of time as well. So I think it's only a few select people that are going to be able to do this really, really well. But if you're able to do it, then like, you have such a huge advantage over everyone. So yeah, I definitely don't think it's for everyone, and not everyone can be a good builder and writer. But if you're able to combine both, man, like, you're super dangerous. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. I really thought that the concept of being a writer builder was really interesting to me, and it's something that I kind of strive towards because I love both. Like, I feel that just writing doesn't really give you, like, you're not in the game and you're not playing, right? Whereas like just building is like, I don't know, maybe it's because I love writing as well. Like, I love consolidating information and like simplifying it so that I can read it and make sure that I understand it. So I love the combination of both. And yeah, like, honestly, I don't know if there are a lot of writer builders out there. I mean, from the top of my head, there's like Paul Graham, who, I don't know if I even consider him as a builder and writer, because he was a builder and he kind of like became a writer afterwards. Although he did write, I think, while he was like in, still deep into like all the tech ecosystem. But if not, then there are a lot of like VCs that I know that are really good writers, and I guess they are some sort of building, right? They are building towards something. Like Jackson Dahl is one example. Gabby Goldberg, another example as well. And then there's Tina, or Fake Pixels, who's also like, these three are all kind of like in crypto adjacent circles as well, and they're all really, really, really good writers. And yeah, like, I definitely think that writing for them is definitely one of their advantages. So anyways, that is it for today, and I hope you enjoyed the video.